Hey everyone, it's Zoe here. I hope you are well. Welcome to another live Q&A. As per usual, I will just chat on for a couple of minutes until a few people log on. And if you're watching the recording then, perhaps scroll forward about 5 minutes. Tonight we're going to have a chat about silly season and surviving silly season and how to actually plan to manage it really well, among other things. So I've got a couple of other questions to answer too. So if you are watching the video recording, just skip forward maybe 5 minutes or so and then we'll get started. Awesome, so we've got Beck here. Hey Beck, how are you? Hope you're well. Victoria, you're up. I'm always impressed. It's so early in the morning, I think, for you over there. I hope you're well. Somebody else is here too. I just can't see. Your name didn't pop up. So maybe just say hi if you are on the line and you are not Beck and Victoria. And let me know if you guys have any questions too. Is there anything that you want me to answer? Oh, it's Sarah. Hi, Sarah. I'm not quite sure why it didn't tell me you had logged on. Weird. So tonight we're going to chat a little bit about silly season and some tactics for surviving silly season. And then also I had a couple of questions about things like protein powder, and Lani had mentioned weighing and not weighing, so I wanted to touch on that as well. So there's a few things to chat about tonight. Jenny is here. Hey Jenny, how you going? Hope you are all well. Let me just quickly bring up the little things that I wanted to have a chat about. Here we go. As we go through tonight, as per usual, just, let me know if you've got questions or if there's something that you want me to cover as I'm going, just pop them in the comment section and I will watch for those as we go through. We may as well get started, I think. Maybe what I'll do first of all, because I logged on a little bit early, so it's only 6:31. I might just talk through the weekly challenge because it I guess relates to what we're going to talk about tonight, because what I wanted to challenge you all to do was to actually make a plan for surviving silly season. So has anybody sort of done this? If you have, can you pop in the comments below? Is there anything that you have decided that you will do to help you plan for surviving silly season? So by planning, I kind of mean about not necessarily about planning what you will eat when you host Christmas or an event, but really planning about how you will manage all of those situations that sometimes you find yourself in when you are going out more often, when you're celebrating more often, perhaps when there's more alcohol around than there usually is. How are you going to manage that? Because I think it's really important that we come up with a plan so we go in feeling confident rather than kind of just making decisions on the run and then feeling bad about it later on, or getting to New Year's and then going on a really restrictive diet because you feel like you've failed, any of those sorts of things. So planning always beats kind of looking back and wondering what we should have done instead. Let me just scroll back a bit. Oh, Sim's here. Hey Sim, how are you? All right, so Victoria, I'll come back to that. So Victoria's just said you've gained a little bit of weight since the summer and panicking. Victoria also said lock myself in the closet for the next month. There is no need to do that. And what I really want to get across is there has been a little bit of talk about dieting or fasting or being bad and good. So I know, Jenny, you just said that it was a bad eating day, but otherwise you're good. I think it's important that we start thinking about the language that we use and being a little kind to ourselves and trying to get away from that dieting mentality. So rather than restricting or having to go on the next fasting diet or the next whatever, going back and doing a pouch reset, any of those things, is really going back to just am I hungry? Am I eating when I'm hungry and not when I'm not hungry? And am I being kind to myself? Because we can't be perfect all the time either. So there needs to be a little bit of balance. So Jenny, because you have had a bad eating day, I'm sure it's actually not that bad. And it doesn't mean that tonight you can't make a better choice, you know, for dinner, for example. Or Victoria, I know you say that you're panicking, but there's no need to panic. It's just kind of sitting down and rationally thinking through, what do we need to do to stop that weight gain going up, and maybe at least maintaining for the winter, rather than going down. And there is definitely no need to lock yourself in the closet for the next month at all, because that sounds very antisocial and very punishing and boring. So, all right. So now I've got on my little soapbox for a minute. What I'll do is I will share a post that I wrote a little while ago about surviving silly season. But there are a few things that I wanted to talk through. One of those things is that planning. So that's why I did the challenge this week, is to actually plan. And rather than planning exactly what you're going to eat if you go to an event, for example, it is more along the lines of, how can I plan, you know, looking at my week. I know that I'm going to an event and there's going to be canapes and then a main meal. So how can I plan so that I go into that event going, okay, I know that I'm going to maybe limit myself and not have any canapes and just have a drink when I first get there, and then sit down and have the meal, because I know that if I eat some canapes, I'm going to be too full to eat the main meal. Okay, so really specific plan for how you're going to manage those sorts of events. So at Christmas Day, for example, or Thanksgiving, I think just gone, Victoria. But you know, how am I going to navigate that big banquet of food on the table? Am I going to go in and sort of pick a little bit of each, or will I actually walk along the banquet table, figure out what I like the most, what I'm most excited about eating, and then pick 1 or 2 or 3 things and put a little bit of each on a small plate? All right, so it's really very specific, because if you walk in with a plan that is something like, oh, I'm just not going to eat, or I'm not going to eat much, or I'll just do whatever, you're going to find that you're more often than not going to make a decision that you're maybe not happy with later. And Beck, I've just seen your comment there, and I think that that makes a whole lot of sense and kind of ties into this as well, is approaching things like every day or every meal. What's the best choice I can make in this situation or at this meal? I know I have loads of great options and can find something to eat that I will then really enjoy. I might have a glass of wine, but I'll sit on that one glass like all day. I can have some cake, a piece that I really love to eat and not feel bad physically or emotionally. It's just another day. And I love that, because you've said, okay, here and now, what's the best possible choice that I can make for me? If I choose to have that cake, so be it. Don't sit there and feel guilty about it afterwards. Sit there and really enjoy it, and actually give yourself that time to savor your meal and go, yep, I chose that. It's what I really felt like. It's what I wanted, and it was amazing. And then move on. Okay, don't dwell on that piece of cake, for example, for the next couple of days, for the next week. So I love the way that you've spoken about that, Beck. That's really good. And Michelle has joined us as well. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Let us know if you've got any questions, Michelle. We're just chatting about surviving silly season, all right? And the first thing we've gone over is having a plan. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about is don't beat yourself up, all right? So tying in with Beck's cake example, don't beat yourself up. If you have a day, and Jenny, I've just seen yours, and you said that you were feeling a bit hungry and needy and you felt like you wanted food all day, and you decided that you wanted to kind of let yourself eat what you felt like and tomorrow will be better, that's great. Don't beat yourself up about it. Some days it is completely normal to have hungrier days and not so hungry days. It's completely normal to feel like certain foods one day and something else the next. All right. If we actually listen to our stomach and to our body, it often tells us what we really need and what we really feel like. So it's just listening to that and that practicing and practicing and practicing. So you have gone in with a plan, then you're not beating yourself up. If you do eat something that you probably wouldn't normally eat, don't dwell on it. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to undo your whole sleeve journey and all the weight loss that you had so far if you eat that one meal that is a bit too much, or you eat that one thing that perhaps wasn't the best choice. The next thing is checking with your tummy. So we spoke about that. So trying to eat really mindfully and actually enjoying your food, and remembering to go for quality over quantity. So throughout silly season, it doesn't mean that you throw it all out of the window, all right? So like Beck said, approaching every day or every meal, what's the best choice that I can make in this situation or at this meal? All right. So to make the best choice, remembering to go for quality over quantity. Okay. So trying to remember like the protein and the veg, try a little bit of everything. Don't limit yourself and say that you can't have everything, but serve yourself on a small plate so that you're not tempted to kind of keep grazing or eat more than you actually need. If you serve yourself a big plate or you serve yourself more than you can actually fit, the temptation is there to go back and to just keep picking as the conversation goes on. So we don't want to do that. We want to avoid that. So serve yourself a small bit, and also say to yourself you can go back and have a bit more if you're actually hungry at the end. But 9 times out of 10, you're not actually hungry at the end after you've eaten that meal. Remember, our eyes are always almost bigger than our stomach. All right. The other thing to remember is to keep drinking. Okay, not alcohol, water. Make sure that you're hydrated, because I'm always banging on about how being dehydrated impacts your appetite and leads you to eat more than you probably actually need. So make sure that you are drinking all through the day, and especially if you know that you've got something on at night time, make sure that you're drinking all day long so that you are hydrated. Then you can have a glass of alcohol, a glass of wine, a glass of champagne, also knowing that it's not going to impact your hydration levels too. And one thing I think is really good about being some of us off work a little bit more or having a bit more time, I know for me the teaching that I do kind of drops down a bit, and what we try to do is to make the most of that time where it's a little bit quieter. Some people, I know it's hectic leading into Christmas, but really important to see if you can maximize that time if you do have downtime, to really get out and get active and make the most of that. So maybe it's summer, maybe you want to get in the pool, maybe you want to try something new that you haven't before, get the bike out, go for a walk. Maybe you could swap some of the family catch-ups for active ones, or saying, okay, rather than going out for drinks for Christmas brunch, let's go for a walk first. Depends, absolutely up to you, but just lots of different ideas there that you can perhaps go on with and use. So I would love to hear what else you do. So Becca said that she sort of approaches it day by day, meal by meal, what's the best choice, and also tries not to feel physically or emotionally like she's made a bad choice, and not to dwell on it. Jenny, you were saying you're very dehydrated. Okay, Jenny, so that could be contributing to the hungry feeling today. Victoria's your birthday and Christmas Day baby. So again, walk into that day going, okay, what's my plan? What do I really want to do? Maybe you want to go out and, I don't know, it's winter there, do something active outdoors in the morning. Maybe you want to go somewhere new. Maybe you want to try something new if there's something around. So, perhaps investigate some other options as well. Some other tips that have also come in from the group. Jen said that she tried to keep Christmas food to the week of Christmas. And also last year she managed to just have Christmas food actually on Christmas Day. And she didn't actually feel like she missed out that much, and really kind of still got the pleasure and the celebration out of having Christmas Day, but it didn't drag on for a month. All right, so maybe that's something you could think about. Vanessa, she said she did a lot of cooking for everyone else, had a mouthful of most of the food, so she didn't feel like it was missing out. And also similar to Jen, sort of said it's only one day after all, and tomorrow is another day. All right, so the theme I'm getting from comments from the community is really that the best way mentally to approach it is to kind of think of it as just another day, going for what makes it easy, trying to make a great choice, but also not dwelling at all. Also, Beck, this was you last year, Beck said last year, which I think is another great tip, is to go to family style serving. So share platters so everybody can look after themselves. She can pick and choose what she wants. They can pick and choose what they want. Nobody cares what everybody else's plate looks like. And it's much easier and much less stressful that way for everyone involved. So maybe perhaps something to think about when you're planning what your family is going to eat on Christmas Day. All right. And yes, Victoria, never feel guilty about having a piece of cake on your birthday. It is 100% fine. And again, we're just getting back to that mindset shift. So I have noticed a little bit of kind of tending back towards that diet mentality in the group. And I've tried to catch it along the way, but really think, am I being kind to myself? Am I being kind to everyone else in the group? You know, using that language of like bad and good and guilty and not so guilty also helps just to shift that mindset. Let's make this really positive and really guilt-free and as little stress as possible, because you don't need to be dieting all the time. That's the kind of behavior that we want to get away from after surgery. Sure, you want to be thinking about your habits and you want to be making the best choice that you possibly can most of the time, but there is leeway for that. That's normal eating. Normal eating is about moderation. It's just not very sexy to sell, unfortunately. All right, and Beck, yes, that's become our default position here at home. Family style, serve yourself. I love it. Rather than feeling like you're feeding your family or they're trying to feed you by putting too much on your plate, just let everybody serve what they want. I really like that. And actually, on that note, I was listening to another podcast about by Gretchen Rubin, the Happiness Podcast, which came out this week, and they did a deep dive into feeding or pushing food on others, and they asked why they asked sort of their audience whether they feel like they are feeders, whether they push food on other people, and why that was. And actually, when they looked at what the comments were, most of the time people were pushing food on somebody else because they wanted to make themselves feel better, not because they were worried about that other person, but actually because they wanted to make themselves feel better. So if you feel like somebody's trying to push food on you any time, but especially during silly season, it always pays to remember that they're just trying to make themselves feel better, and it actually has nothing to do with you, and you can just feel confident in your decision to go ahead and eat what you feel like you want to eat. All right, you don't have to bend towards that. And if you want to listen to that podcast, it was really interesting. And it's the Gretchen Rubin Happier podcast. And it was this week's episode. I think it came out on Wednesday. It's in the title. I think it was the second part of the title, if you want to have a look at it. And Jenny's also a big believer in buffet style. So Canadians and Americans are very much sit down dinner. I think because of the weather, the Aussie barbecue buffet style is a bit easier to manage. I agree. Who else loves a big bucket of prawns in the middle of the table, a whole bunch of salads, pick and choose whatever you want, just go for it. Because that's what we always do in our family, and it is my favourite. Yeah. All right. So let me know if there's anything else, any other questions you have about silly season. Vanessa, I hope that helped, because you'd posted in the group about help and about switching normal anxiety to fancy holiday anxiety, and there is no need for that whatsoever. So I hope I have kind of calmed that anxiety a little bit. Just approach it calmly and quietly and go about it like it is any other meal. Just go in with a plan. So troubleshoot as well. If I get offered this, what am I going to say? All right. If you don't know the person, if they don't know that you've had a surgery, think about, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? Sometimes when you say that I'm on a diet or I'm trying to be good, that actually makes that feeding or pushing kind of attitude worse. Sometimes if you go, no, I'm fine, thank you, that's enough. Or I'm actually really full, thanks, I'm saving myself for dinner later. That's usually a better way to approach it, rather than kind of opening up that world of, oh, what diet are you trying now? What are you doing? You know, should I be doing it too? Oh, come on, just one little bit won't hurt. Okay, so if you can get away from answering with, I'm trying to be good, or I'm trying a new diet, or I don't want to gain any weight over Christmas, then you'll be much better off. It'll become less of an issue. Jenny, an unrelated question. Perfect. We're moving on, because I wanted to talk about some other questions I've had, and it's already been 20 minutes on Christmas. What do you think about eating hemp seeds? Jenny, I honestly haven't done that much research into hemp seeds. From what I know, it is fine as an addition to your normal diet. I mean, it's just like lots of other seeds. And I wouldn't think that they would help you lose weight at all. They, in terms of the oils and the fiber and the protein in them, if they're similar to other seeds, they will be satisfying, but they're not anything amazing, not anything magical, not anything that is going to help you to lose a whole bunch of weight all of a sudden. I always feel, same as you, a bit meh about superfoods or foods that claim to help you lose weight. There is no magic food. There are superfoods because they have lots of antioxidants in them, but they're just foods like blueberries, superfood, right? Vegetables, superfoods. Doesn't really mean that they're going to magically appear because they come from an ancient Incan civilization. Okay, so look, if you want to include them as, an addition to maybe breakfast or in a smoothie, go for it, but I wouldn't be wasting too much time and effort trying to eat them every day just because they're going to help you to lose weight at all. Okay. All right, Lani, I know she's not here, but I wanted to talk about this because there were some really good comments to Lani's post today. Lani said that she packed up her scale 3 weeks ago and stopped weighing herself every day, and said that she's committed to focus instead on measurements, how clothes fit, eating well, and it's made a really big difference to her mood. And again, it ties in with what we've been talking about tonight. So have you let go of the scale? I think Beck said she had let go of the scale, maybe weighed like once a month. Lindsay had let go of the scale and gave up weeks ago, feel more motivated knowing that she's doing the best that she can do. It again is being kind to ourselves, all right? So sometimes some people feel that checking in and just weighing, once a month for a little bit of a check is helpful. I don't find it's helpful. I used to weigh myself and I had the worst relationship with food and with my weight and with my body that I had ever had. And since I stopped focusing on the weight and focused instead on my sport and my speed or my strength and the quality of my diet, that has shifted mood dramatically and shifted that relationship dramatically. So I think I'm always a pro for getting away from the scales. We weigh in the clinic because we have to for research, but I always say to my patients before they come in, if you don't want to weigh or you don't want to know, turn around and face the other way, or I'll cover it up. You don't need to know. It is not something that I'm judging you by. It's just that we need it for research purposes. So, good on you, Lani. I think that's excellent to give give it away, and focus on all those other things. And Beck, I think you commented as well, and you said the scales don't tell you anything that your genes don't already tell you, and I think that is 100% true. All right, so I think that's really good to see Lani giving that a go. All right, the other question I had was from Sue on protein powders, because she wanted to use a protein shake to help in the morning on work days as she's struggling with breakfast. My recommendation for this is, if it's going to replace a meal, go for a meal replacement shake. Okay, so something like the Optifast or the Formulite or the OptiSlim. Formulite is a little less sweet. Some people like it, some people don't. It is more expensive, but it's up to you. If you have a bit more time and you want to make it into a smoothie, then you might just use, make sure you make it on milk, but you might use some fruit or some veggies in there, and then you might also add a protein supplement to it to boost the protein further. So that protein supplement could be as simple as a skim milk powder, very cheap, very easy. Ideally what you want, if you're going to buy a product off the shelf, is a whey protein powder or a collagen. So Cost Price supplements have a collagen with tryptophan added, and so we spoke about that a couple of live Q&As ago, so that would be a good option too. Super simple, you could add something like Benny protein. You get that in all pharmacies, and that is a clear and a tasteless one, so you can add that in without it kind of affecting the taste of the smoothie or the texture of the smoothie at all. But really what you're after first and foremost is something that's complete, so a whey, or going for something simple like skim milk powder. Okay, don't overcomplicate it at all. The taste bit just totally varies person to person, so perhaps if anybody has a recommendation of a protein powder that they use that they like, pop them in the comments for me. I like the Masashi range, but I also quite like any protein supplement except for the pea proteins and the vegan-y ones. I think they get really kind of chalky and the mouthfeel is really gross. So because I like so many, I'm often not the best judge. All right, so I hope that helps Sue. Vanessa's joined us, and I've just seen, Vanessa, that you had your first Christmas was 6 months post-sleeve, and when it came to time to eat, I kept aside a mouthful of everything, and then when the rest of the family ate the main, you had your entree and main together. And I think, Vanessa, I had posted one of your comments that was very similar to that on the blog post that I posted last year, so I'll post that in the group just as a little reminder, but I did mention that as a really good way to do it. So as you're cooking, save a little mouthful, put them all on a little plate so that you know that the portion is good, but you still feel like you get to eat a little bit of everything. And well done you. You're resting while you slog it out in the gym, so you can't hear because of the music. That's absolutely fine, go for it. I went and did a little bit of yoga this afternoon because I went up to my mum's place on the weekend and she made me ride her dressage horse for her because she was injured, and I did 3 dressage tests. I haven't ridden a test for about 15 years and I can barely move today. I was so sore, so I found it really helpful just to go and do a bit of a stretch, although I looked like a little 90-year-old lady. I think it was not pretty. So go, Vanessa, go. I love it. All right, so let me just scroll back through and see if there is anything else. I've put a couple of extra recipes up on the members section of the Living with a Sleeve website. So if you want to go and have a look in there, there's a new one for a berry breakfast parfait, a 1-egg omelette, a balsamic chicken 1 tray bake. So pop in there and have a look. I posted the berry breakfast parfait on Friday, so if you want to, you can easily just scroll back through the Facebook group and click through there and you'll see the others. Also some interesting chat from question from Sim about can you be a blood donor after being sleeved, and it seems that there's a whole bunch of inconsistencies there, so thank you all for your comments on that one too. I'm not sure exactly, you know, maybe it has to do with the state that we're in, if that's different, I don't know, but I haven't actually investigated that before. That's something that I would suggest you ask the surgeon about, but it's probably easier just to ask the blood donation place exactly what they need before you go, so that you know. And all right, I think that is about it. Maggie, who's new, she's on Puree, and she said she was struggling a bit with that. So Maggie, if you watch this, let us know how you're going. Hopefully you're doing a little bit better. That was sort of 5 days ago, and we sort of said go back to the fluids for a few more days and then try again with the purees. And Beck, you had tried with your family, I love this, you had tried with your family to do a 20-minute meal timer for the whole family. And the reason I love this so much is because the habits that we are trying to learn or relearn or focus on after the sleeve is something that we should all be focusing on. Every single one of us, sleeve or no sleeve, young, old, doesn't matter. We should all be focusing on slowing down. We should all be focusing on taking 20 to 30 minutes for a meal. So I love that you did this with your family, and it was less stressful than normal. Your husband left food on his plate at the end because he realized he wasn't actually full, and you know, you actually all enjoyed it and you took your time. And I love that, because often we do need to eat less than we actually do, and it's just because we eat too fast we get more in than we need. So the fact that your husband actually sat and enjoyed it and left food on his plate, that's an amazing result. Well done. So maybe that can be one of the challenges that we do coming up, is to try a family meal challenge. I might do that next time so that we can all practice with those eating habits that you're learning now. Oh, Sim, Lifeblood website. So that's good. Okay. And Beck, your son eats like a Labrador and you find it very distressing. So he realised it wasn't a race with the app, and then it worked really well. I love it. Well done. And thank you, Victoria. I think the looking good on the horse is all to do with the horse, to be honest. He's a very beautiful boy. My mum is very lucky. All right, I think that's about it. And I just looked down and it is bang on 7 o'clock. Isn't that weird? So what I have also upcoming is a post about nutrient deficiencies after a sleeve. It's sort of the second one in the series about myths and misconceptions. So sort of that, I wanted to address that misconception that, oh my God, can you actually survive on that amount of food? Are you really going to be able to live only eating that much food? And the fact that there's that kind of disconnect between what people see when you say, oh, you know, you'll eat about a cup of food 3 times a day, maybe have a snack in between if you're hungry. And that is so hard to wrap your head around until you've actually had the surgery. So I wanted to address that a little bit. And so I'll post that one tomorrow, and I am going to just keep popping recipes in. I know I haven't put so many recipes in the recipe section of the website for the last little while because of the Back on Track course, so I am building that up again, and there'll be a meal plan coming soon. And as per usual, let me know if you've got anything else that you would like me to cover. Great question today from Sue, so thank you, Sue. If there's anything like this or a topic that you want me to talk about in the next live Q&A, please do so. And remember, surviving silly season is all about planning, not beating yourself up, actually checking in with your stomach, going for quality over quantity, staying hydrated, and getting out and about and actually doing some more active stuff if you have a little bit more time too. So I'm sure we will all be fine. All right, no stress, no holiday anxiety. All right, so I will chat to you soon, but I'll talk to you before then in the group. Okay, bye guys, see you.